In the Midwest, many things have come and gone. We've seen businesses born and we've watched as they've perished. From local ice cream shops to dance halls to supper clubs, trends tend to take a stronghold on our society, and years later we look back and utter the words, "What were we thinking?" One thing that evolves with the times and technology is music. It is much like anything. New devices are designed and deployed, making music more robust. At times the changes are welcomed, and at others they are despised. In the Midwest, based out of a small town called the Hub City, is a regional act called Kashmir. Through blood, sweat, jack, and tears, the band still exists today.
Mark and I started, it'll be 43 years this fall. We started playing together.
After high school, I never did too much until I ran into Roy. And then he asked me to critique their band. Somehow he had heard of me and asked me to go over and critique their band. And I kept going back and kept critiquing, and next thing you know, they were asking me to join, so I did.
I knew Mark and Roy and them, and they asked me if I was interested in playing with them, and came back to play with them, and I've been back here ever since, and playing in bands still to this day. I'm still playing.
I joined it in '84. I think, yep. I think officially, yeah, I think we did a couple outdoor concerts that year. Me and Roy had just gotten back from Montana, if I remember right, and I think, no, it was before going to Montana, but yeah, it was '84. I'm pretty sure it was the first time I played with Mark and Kyle anyway.
Well, I think it was from 2005 to 2008, somewhere around there, 2004, 2008, 4 or 5 years, something like that.
There are very few bands that have spanned over 4 decades. The Rolling Stones, The Who, The Beach Boys, Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Aerosmith, and the Eagles. And that's just to name a few. But again, these are famous bands. How hard would it be to accomplish more than 4 decades as a local band in a smaller region? Lacking the endless cash flow makes it harder to live a life in music. The previously mentioned legends of rock all had one job, and that was to play music. They had a crew and staff to take care of everything else. Local bands, they don't get that luxury. They work a 40-hour-plus week. Sometimes it's hard labor, and then they have to haul their gear in and out of each venue. They'll set it up themselves. They'll play the music. They'll tune everything. The fortunate bands get to take their families with them. The weekend warriors like Kashmir barely get to see them.
One of the guys mentioned the word cashmere, like a cashmere sweater. And the idea was a kind of cashmere sweater is that cashmere is a high quality type of material, you know, the wool. And so we kind of kept with that theme. But then when we put it onto a poster for a band, the way cashmere was spelled with the C, it just wasn't making it. It just nothing we could do to make it look good for a band. And I think it was at that point, I think it was Roy that came out, and he had a Led Zeppelin album, had the song on it called Kashmir, which is the land between India and Pakistan. And I believe even to this day it has been, and I believe it still is, under dispute by those two countries. But it's a little strip of land, and that's the name of it. And I think Led Zeppelin was talking about their visits, singing about their visits there as they toured the world. And so although it was pronounced, the country is pronounced Kashmir, we took it still and still use the phonetics of Kashmir sound. So we just ran with that, and that's where the name kind of came from. So.
Well, with any band, my favorite memories are traveling to and from gigs and the setup and teardown times, the razzing each other, and just the camaraderie of playing with a group of guys and our friends. I'd say that probably one of the most fun gigs was probably playing, you know, the Pier Pump bike rallies. We played those for a couple years, and those are always a good time. Good crowd, and you got a stage that you can kind of stretch out and turn the volume up on.
Boy, I'd have to think about that one. There's so many. Remember playing in Clark one time, and the stage was right behind the bar, and of course Kashmir, we were so loud, but we're right on top, and it was so small, the lights we had 20,000 watts of lighting, 20,000 watt fixtures, and the fixtures were so close that we got burned, we had like sunburns after playing that gig that night, and it was a fun time. And remember playing on the runway at Hoven, and it was the airport's like 4 miles out of town, and I remember people telling us, we could hear you playing as could be in town 4 miles away. But I don't know, I guess to me all gigs are fun. I just love playing.
Well, first of all, it was back in the day when people just wanted to have fun. Nobody was wanting to sue anybody or beat anybody up or anything. It was just fun. And those, we got 2 semi-beds, and put them together and set up all the stuff. And we had, guys hired for security and whatnot. And it was just crazy. 1,000, 1,500 people. And it was just, I remember the one year being during the fair, and all the people, we didn't start playing till like 11 o'clock midnight. So we picked up the bar crowd and everything, and we played, quite frankly, until the sun came up. And then we said, that's it, we're done. And there was a lot of crazy things that went on out there, but it was just a lot of fun. People, I can be in Deadwood and talk, and people will say our last name and they remember us from outdoor concerts. People have heard of us in other states. They heard of it. It was just crazy, how, because they were fun. $5, you can party all night. Where could you do that?
I would wake up one Monday and say, this is the week we're going to do it, and it was just go, getting things ready, getting things lined up, getting security guys, getting door people, getting cleanup, everything, getting the radio ads, and then of course rehearsal. We had rehearsal that we would do too. So it was fun when you were on stage, but when it was every time it was over, I'd say to myself, I'm never doing another one of these, And then a year would go by and people would start haunting me, hey, when are you gonna have one of those parties? And the only reason I kept doing them too was it was something that Aberdeen had that nobody else had. And we used to have people come from Sioux Falls even to them, and we usually had at least 1,000 people there. So it was fun, but it wasn't fun, if you know what I mean. If all I would have had to do was just show up and play, it would have been fantastic.
Yes, you stood in a tree, smiling from her head to her feet. I said, hey, what is this? I said, maybe she's in need of a kiss. I said, hey, what's your name, baby? Maybe we can see things the same. Now don't you hesitate. Let's move it, raise the pocket rate. All right now, baby, it's all right now. All right now, baby, it's all right now. Let me tell you more. I took her home to my place, watching the move on face. And she said, look, what's your game, baby? Are you trying to trick me and say, baby, I said, no, don't go so fast. Don't you think the love will last? And she said, love, love. Now you're trying to trick me in love. All right now, baby, it's all right now. All right now, baby, it's all right now. It's all right now. We'll see you next time. Good night.